Okay, so I suggest to start, if you all agree, Sarah, Bastian, if you're ready to go. So welcome everyone at this AMA, Ask Me Anything session for the CVC Crypto Conference Startup Pitch Competition. That's the topic today. And we are here for you, Sarah Simeone for the Crypto Valley Association Startup Working Group, the chair, Bastian Wetzel from Zug from CV Labs and CVVC represented by him, and myself, Benedict Orban from the Association Startup Working Group, co-chairing with Sarah. And just some starting remarks. First of all, this event is recorded, so please be aware. So stick around if you're okay with it, and that's an important announcement for you. About the structure, we'll start off with a very brief introduction. What is the Crypto Valley Conference 2023 Startup Pitch Competition? What are the first main data points which you need to know about? Then in the second half, in the second part, we'll just go through the application process. This will be led by mainly Sarah and Bastian. And after that, that will take like a maximum of 15 minutes. And after that, we will open up for questions. We'll have approximately 15 to 30 minutes, and we're open to hear your questions. Whenever if you feel to have some questions on the fly, please take a note of them or just drop them in the comments in the chat, so we can just work towards them and through them in the AMA part of this session. So I think we can start off, and let me just, I think, share my screen immediately because that's probably the main. Yeah. Okay. Could you confirm seeing my screen now? Or give me a second. Should be this one. Okay. So the Crypto Valley Conference 2023 is happening on the 1st and the 2nd of June this year in the Crypto Valley, speaking in Rotkreuz and Zug in Switzerland. And in this year's edition, Crypto Valley Conference organizers, the Crypto Valley Association and CV Labs and CVVC is teaming up to present you with a startup competition, a startup pitching competition. If you go on the homepage of the conference, you will reach it under the startup tab. And right away, jumping into the main idea. So in this competition, we will have an application phase, which is open now and closing by the 24th of April. And by this time, you can put in your applications. If you are, as written also here, you're an early stage startup in pre-seed or seed moment, which is a very important moment for you. And so is it for us and the organizers. So we decided to present you with this pitching competition. The process of the selection will be, there is this candidate list of whoever submits into the process. This is further down on the page. We'll get to it in a moment. And after the submission stage, we'll have a preliminary screening, mainly led by Bastian and his team. There is a set of judges who will be screening through the applications, and we'll be selecting the top 10 projects who will be invited to the conference itself, and already making the big step towards the big audience of over 1,500 participants at the conference. Within the conference, they will have, each of them will have a time and an opportunity to bring their projects to and pitch in front of not just an expert judge panel, but also to the conference attendees and investors. The top 3 will be awarded with monetary and non-monetary prizes, but I can already confirm that the top 10, nobody will leave empty-handed. We have great commitments already from our different partners, and soft commitments of over $400K US of investment from our partners, Blockwall, Exchange, Albanks, etc., MME. Also, CV Labs is offering some great perks in terms of services and access to the next accelerator batch. And I could go on with that, but I think the most important is that you can check it out on the homepage itself. In a nutshell, this is a great opportunity for all startups looking for funding, especially in conditions today. And we are here today to answer your questions around the sign-up process and the applications. Let me stop sharing my screen and handing over to Sarah and Bastian for the next part, where we'll go through the basic startup competition submission page and process.
Thank you, Benedict. So Bastian, hi, and it would be great if you could introduce yourself, since Bene and I have already introduced ourselves, and we can see in the public some familiar faces. So it would be great to learn a little bit more about you and CV Labs, and how you're going to start the selection process. And I will share my screen as well after you've presented yourself, so we can go through the questions together. I hope that works for you.
Absolutely, perfect. Thank you so much for having me here. So my name is Bastian. I'm part of the investment team at CVC, leading the CV Labs acceleration program from an investment side of things. So I'm the one screening all the companies. And then so to also give you more background on what the CV Labs acceleration program is, since this is one of the perks. So we already run it for the 5th time. So this is going to be our 5th batch that just kicked off last week. Super exciting. It's a very selective program with an acceptance rate lower than Y Combinator, which is kind of crazy. So we really like get the best startups. We have applications from over 61 countries. So very exciting. It's a 10 weeks program. This year we have new partners with Chainlink Labs and Protocol Labs, and obviously many other partners as well. Yeah, so that's my role. I work since 1.5 years for CVC and CV Labs. And happy to give you guidance around the application process here for the pitch competition. I think it's always a great opportunity to pitch in front of such an investor audience, and also to be part of such a summit. And it's also a great exercise for you in order to be on stage and then also get feedback from external parties. So yeah, I'm very happy to give you more advice here.
That's fantastic. And we're happy to have you here as well today with us. So I'll share my screen now. So please let me know if you can see my screen. Yes, all good. Okay, so Bastian, let's go from the top, because I mean, we know that applications are always, can look simple and easy, but actually they are not that simple, especially when it comes to actually, understanding what the project wants to convey in a very simple way. So let's, of course, I mean, the first questions are pretty much straightforward. So the name of the project or the startup. And in this case, just, to be like, the devil's advocate, and for the startups here, would you rather prefer to have the registered companies, or just projects that are still at an idea stage? How would you like, people to, to apply? What are the key requirements for you guys?
Well, I mean, it really depends, right? So this is mainly intended for early stage startups. And obviously, I think everybody should get the chance to pitch here. So we also, for our acceleration program, we mainly look at projects with an MVP, because it's just like easier to assess. However, if you're in at an idea stage, that's also fine. But usually when speaking of the acceleration program, we look at the MVP stage. So yeah.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
obviously, if you're like in Series C and already have revenues, I mean, that's also a great opportunity for you also to pitch here.
Fantastic. So that's great. So for those ones listening, if you are a registered company or still non-registered, but you have an MVP or a little bit less or even a bit more, just still feel welcome to actually write the name of your startup or project in here. And then we have the name of the primary contact person. This is pretty straightforward. Could be the CEO, it could be like, the main leader of the project. And question for you as well, Bastian, because I'm already thinking like, what kind of questions may arise from this conversation. Are we allowing on stage only one person to pitch or multiple people?
Yeah, I mean, usually we would, tell you it's better if only one person pitches, because it's going to be a 5-minute pitch. And so you want to be on point. However, if you always pitch 2 together, it can also be 2 persons. It's just like, I guess it's more difficult if you're 2-person pitching, but do whatever you want to do. But I personally would say it's better if only one person is going to be on stage.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And I mean, I urge everyone to actually write comments, by the way, in the chat. So we are keeping an eye on the questions. We already received a few, so please keep them coming. And then we go, of course, I mean, the website, if you have one. If not, I mean, it's basic. So we are really think that you should, I really hope that you will have one already. Email address of the primary contact, and then we get started. So description of the project or the startup. Now we are saying here that the startup should use 100 words, which is always very difficult. And please include the problem that your business solves. And, so that, Bastian, can we perhaps decrypt this a little bit more so that everybody's clear?
Yeah, 100%. So maybe to be more high level in the very beginning. So you also need to consider when a VC is checking your project. So the goal is really to get a quick understanding of what you're doing, what problem you're solving, so that for us, it's very clear. You can also mention, like, usually VCs, they screen a lot of deals, so it must be easy. And then obviously the website and your deck is very important. So this is also where people would spend a lot of time on it. And here for this application process, we also included some extra questions, such as the project itself, the problem, the solution that you have, the business model, what makes you stand out from the competition, and also the target market. So these are like usually questions that you would be asked in a conversation. So we get some more extra information on it. And now with the first question here, that you describe your problem, the solution to it. I mean, you don't even have to have like 100 words. Good founders, they could describe their projects in like 7 to 10 words. However, this is really difficult. And now for the first question, we want to see that there is a problem, which is actually a problem that needs to be, tackled and solved. And so you also want to showcase the solution to it, and like how you're actually solving that problem, and what your startup is about.
And would you recommend startups to add some numbers as well in terms of the size of the market in here?
I guess we have an extra, question about the target market and how you capture it. So yeah. I think this is going to be for the market. However, if you want to add numbers, you could, for instance, say you're like 20% faster, or more transparent, or whatsoever, compared to existing projects in the market, which is so to say maybe your secret sauce, or like what makes you stand out. That is something that you potentially could add here, but it's always like difficult to come up with an exact number. So I think here it makes more sense really just to describe what you're building, so that we get a better understanding.
Perfect. So it would be a value proposition as a sentence, and then what problem you're trying to solve, and of course a quick solution, just so that we understand what kind of product this is, right? Just exactly. in a nutshell. Great. Exactly. So to continue then with the business model, then describe your startup's business model. So here we don't have a limit of 100 words. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Cool. So do we recommend people to, just keep it short still, or, what?
Yeah, I would still keep it short. Just describe on how you want to monetize your solution in the future, and also maybe how you can grow your business. And how you actually can scale your business. I think this is relevant for us to know here, and how you want to, capture the value, basically.
Perfect. So it would be a revenue model, and then mention perhaps if this is a token project, right, or an NFT project, an infrastructure project, I guess that this is quite important for you as well to understand the size of that market, and if you can, cater for that. or not, if it is like, you know, a DeFi project, I guess, and, you know, or anything, you know, any kind of project. So first define the kind of startup, and then basically go in there a little bit deeper in terms of like, you know, how do we intend to actually make money, right? And what about, you know, in case they wanted to run, you know, token offering perhaps, or, you know, if that was like, you know, their goal, for instance, would they put it in here as well?
Sure, yeah. I mean, then you would need to have a utility of the token and why there is a need for a token and why people buy the token. And then you also, I mean, with the token model, you also need to have a value capture mechanism in there. So this is something that you would also outline.
Perfect. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, and we can continue. And I guess there are not many questions in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. No questions so far. And then, what makes your project stand out from the competition? Here we're going back to you know, a short question and answer. So 250 words, and give 5 reasons why your startup stands out from the competition. So what do you expect to see in here, Bastian?
I mean, look, there's always competition in the market. Let's say you're in the Web3 space, maybe there is going to be a competition from the Web2 space. And so there's always competition. And for us, it's necessary to understand on how you compare yourself to the competitors, and also to say like, what is your underlying magic of the project or the product that you have, and also like your competitive advantage to those competitors, and then obviously also list the competitors in the market so that we know how you stand out from that competition. So basically that's it.
Yeah, and if they have any traction, I guess that they could put them in here.
Sure.
To say
absolutely,
yeah?
Absolutely.
So that in case, you know, and partnerships eventually, because I mean, that could also distinguish, like, you know, that you can actually also, it's a differentiation point from potential competitors, right?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so that makes sense. And I guess that there is a lot of competition as well in Web2, because now we're competing with customers. And it's important perhaps to highlight also if this is a B2B or B2C or B2B2C, or, you know, what kind of project this is in the business model, and then basically look at the competition far and wide, but also very narrow it down, so that they have a proper way to analyze it. Okay, so finally we got the target market and how you capture it. So this is again an open-ended question, so we don't have a limit in the number of words as far as we can see here. So I guess that this is a very important question for a lot of investors, because you want to understand how the team can actually go out there, conquer size of the market, and make this project successful. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Perfect. So we are going to have basically like more or less numbers should be inserted in this space. So the size of your market, and then how do you intend to actually go and capture this market?
Exactly.
Again, if you have a community, I guess that you can put it in here as well, because that could also be beneficial for you to understand.
Yeah, I mean, the main point here is also to understand like who is your user, who is your customer, so that we understand like who you're targeting. Like it's a classic go-to-market strategy, like who are your customers, how big is the market, and then how we approach the market.
Perfect. Yes, great. And then, of course, I mean, we have the pitch deck, the dreaded pitch deck for some people. But in this case, tell us, Bastian, what would you like to see? How many pages, more or less? Because this is always the key question for a lot of startups, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really depends on the project. Like there is no classic pitch structure. However, usually, you know, a deck should have around 10 slides. So you want to keep it simple. So what is going to be important in the deck as well is to have a team slide. That is very important, especially because we don't ask for it here. So you want to highlight, especially for early stage projects, why you have the perfect team. Especially because oftentimes for early stage project, you may have an idea or an MVP and no traction. So we want to make sure you're the right persons to invest in. And then I think we had a question from the chat, which is also about the technology, like how can we highlight the technology in here? So, I mean, you can also create an appendix slide if it is very relevant. However, what we usually also teach our own startups is that you don't want to, you want to show the features, but you don't only want to show the features of your project and the technology behind it, but you actually want to highlight and strengthen the benefits for the users. So this is more important than showing all the different features, because they can sometimes be a bit misleading and then also like too much information. Besides in the pitch deck, I mean, what you usually want to have obviously is also the questions that we ask for. You can go into more detail. So again, like the questions that we have on the website here are like more high level to get a better understanding of your problem within a couple of minutes. And then in a pitch deck, you usually want to have the problem, the solution to it, the business model, how you stand out from the competitors, and then again, the founding team. I mean, here you're like, okay, if you're raising funds right now, you can also have like an ask at the very end. This is maybe also something that you want to have for the pitch competition live, if you actually have an ask. But I think in here, it's really fine just to explain what you're doing.
Absolutely, Bastian. And we have a few more questions as well in here. So if we are successful, says Dominic, can one assume that we will have access to the rest of the event? And if so, will that include access for, say, 2 founders?
Let me maybe jump into this. So generally, I think the approach of the organizers is that, of course, if you make it, you get your tickets. If it's up to 2 or 1, we'll clarify and put it out in the next announcement. I would say if it's 2 founders, then we'll make it to 2 founders. We'll try to push it. I can confirm now 1 entry ticket for the 2 days for the conference.
Perfect. Thank you, Benedict. And the second question is, can it be assumed that the pitch document that we will upload will be different to the demonstration deck / production that we plan to use on stage?
I mean, yeah, from my point of view, totally, it makes a lot of sense to have a send-out deck and a presentation deck. So on a send-out deck, you can include more text so that we get a better and more detailed understanding, whereas for a presentation deck, you want to have less text so that the audience is actually really focusing on the person itself.
Perfect. And we had a question from Lawrence earlier today, and I wanted to go back because I think it's connected somehow to this question. So Lawrence already applied, but he's saying that the project has obviously progressed quite a bit since the application process. So can they resubmit the content?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally don't see an issue. Maybe Benedict, you want to add something here?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. We haven't thought about it because usually you give 1 application in and that's what counts. To be honest, like if something big changes happen meanwhile along the application process, and this change is very crucial, then I would say the following: please reach out to the organizers. There is a contact form or a contact there, and please reach out directly and we'll evaluate case by case how we'll handle this.
Yeah.
Okay, if there is a good reason to do it,
Yeah.
I think it does make sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you have minor changes, then honestly, I wouldn't reapply, only if it's like major changes.
Exactly. And perhaps they can just resubmit the pitch deck, right? In case there was something like, major partnership that is happening, or an investment or a soft commitment that already happened, because that could potentially be quite beneficial for the investors to know. Okay, so we also have an email from Michele. Hi, Michele from Impact Scope. Here, I was wondering what soft commitment means in this context among the prizes. I think you're muted.
I didn't fully hear the question.
Sorry, Michele basically said, what does soft commitment means in the context amongst prizes? So we are saying basically that on the platform, on the Crypto Valley conference website, there are already quite a few commitments, soft commitments. So here we can read 100K soft commitment for funding from Blockwall, and then Exchange or L Banks and CV Labs. So in this case, I guess perhaps Bastian can talk about CV Labs commitments, and then for the rest, we'll see. But Bastian, what is a soft commitment on your side?
Sure. So on our side, it's a fast track access to the next CV Labs accelerator batch. Given I'm heavily also involved in the screening of the entire process for the acceleration program, obviously, when you apply and you pitch on stage, we've been connected anyhow. And so usually on a fast track means that you directly get to the last interview stage. And so then we, have interviews for the acceleration program. So that would be a fast track for us instead of going through the regular route where you first need to apply via the website and then deliver videos, et cetera, et cetera.
Makes absolute sense.
Okay, maybe, yeah, thanks. Maybe just on what soft commitment means actually is it's non-mandatory commitment. It is actually that those partners, they lined up saying that they have put aside this budget, okay, and this budget is meant to be spent if they happen to like the projects finishing up in the top 3. And what we told the rules and the rights to change. This is a non-mandatory commitment but also if some of the other projects may be more fitting into the profile of one of the committing partners would turn out to be true, then this could also change and shift from the top 3 into other placements. Okay, so this is actually once again a non-mandatory commitment. So if the partners listed up here, they do have the budget separated for it. If they find out that the price, that the project itself does fulfill their expectations, this is what they're wanting to invest. Doesn't have to be in one chunk. They can also split it up and co-finance and co-fund a set of projects within the prize pool.
Yep. Yeah, that makes absolute sense, and how normally this kind of competitions work. So soft commitment could be anything. It could be also like, we're going to have 10 startups, but of course, I mean, we're going to see so many applications coming through, and perhaps, the jury will decide how to, perhaps there is a startup that will not go to the main stage, but perhaps, you could be contacted by someone, who's seen your application. That happened, in the past, at least, to some startups we know. So, and related to that question, actually, we had another question about, let me see. So we have Roy who's actually asking something, but I think that is not totally related to this competition, but it's about, like, they are a startup from Spain developing an algorithm to cover credit and market risk in DeFi. We want to implement our products in Switzerland due to regulations. And how can we be part of the Crypto Valley ecosystem to get access to financial institutions there besides applying?
Okay, so I can really maybe chip in right away here. It's not totally related. So the second part is related. Yes, apply. And I can tell you, if you get on stage here, the first question is already answered, how you get in touch. But besides that, please reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn or my name, and also via my email address. I will leave it in the chat in a moment. I can help you on this with specific questions, and also in general how to join the association or get in contact with us. Okay,
excellent.
So
that makes sense. And I mean, we just basically, like, we know that there are a lot of people here today, and we always invite new members, or people who have not joined the associations yet to actually come and join us, because we have a lot of fantastic working groups, apart from the startup working group that today is here represented by myself and Benedict. But, you know, there is also, like, you know, other, the investor working group is one of them, regulations. So we got a lot of experts within the ecosystem that could help and support with this kind of questions. So we really, like, you know, welcome anyone to apply and be part of our group. And then we have another question from Noemi. Don't be sorry about asking questions. So what is the background of the jury? What are they specialized in? Finance, crypto, blockchain technology? Bastian, I don't know if you have any in-depth, you know, knowledge of this, like, or Benedict.
Maybe I can chip in here. So we have actually two sets of people. The first judge is about the screening of the applications. I think we are not surprised, and it's not a big secret when we say that we have loads of applications, which is great, and there's big competition to get into the top 10. We have a set of industry specialists from CV Labs, from the association, tech and non-tech business and investor focused individuals in the jury for that. It is not public who's in that jury, and as far as I know, it is also not intended to be publicated, to go public with the screening. Nothing to hide. It's just a technical question, because we split among each other. All the screening works because there's so many applications and so many great applications from you. This is the second set of judges in the panel and the judges at the event. This is for now a surprise, but of course it will be public. But a couple of things that besides some persons also here in this call, you might also get some great names from the greatest ecosystems around crypto and blockchain, here seated in Switzerland, but also from abroad, flying in. I can't tell you more, but it will be published, and I can tell you it's a big name. So whoever gets to present in front of this jury is really probably making a big deal. And also chipping in on, once again, on the investor side. So we have those partners here, but we have already many sign-ups from investors who are not explicitly partnering up with the startup competition, but they will be sitting around and watching and listening with open ears. So this is the lowest barrier I can think of, these commitments, these soft commitments, what we see. And don't be surprised if you would be approached bilaterally within or after the event if you did a good job on the pitching competition and presented your product or startup.
Great. And Mario just asked another question in the chat, which is the list of applications public? Will it be published? I guess here the applications, what do you mean, Mario, with that? Because I mean, I don't think that it would be quite, are you talking about the applications, like, you know, startups applying for this? Perhaps you can reply in the message.
I think how I understood Mario's words is he's interested, like, who applied, like the hundreds of startups, and if this list is public. Let me take this with us as a homework to get back to you on that. There are like some pros and cons. They're like, of course, in some stages of startups, we don't want to breach NDAs and there's some
GDPR rules either.
so we will take this with us and come back in the announcement. My guess would be that the application list will not be public. If I need to answer now, I hope under these circumstances that's something which the audience and all the applicants will understand.
And Mario as well, I mean, you can always share, if you are happy to share that you applied, please feel free to share that on social media. So everyone is happy to actually share that you have applied for the competition on social media. And, you know, this is hopefully is going to actually create a little bit of, you know, buzz about, you know, your project anyway, since this is actually quite a very well-known startup competition within this space. So yeah, just feel free to do that. And as Benedict said, we will get back to you with more information and the clarity on this point. Okay, so do we have any further questions? I think we've answered most of them.
Yes, but we also promised, and this is the moment where we also promised, if somebody wants to have a verbal question, not a written one, that we offer this. So I would like to ask our support from CVA, or co-host, to open up the opportunity for Speak Up Now.
It is open for everybody now.
Good.
Until we break the ice, let me just teaser something. Maybe if we are finished with the questions, then there's a very small announcement still left, which we will do from the position of the Startup Working Group to Crypto Valley Associations, and looking towards 2 brand new awards curated by the working group and distributed and given away at the event. I'll announce it right in a moment, but let's hear if anybody is around to have some verbal questions to us.
Hi, it's Dominic from High Labs.
Hi, Dominic.
Hello, just a quick question. Obviously, there's a lot of people looking to apply and to sort of get hold of this very prestigious event. Is there sort of a community group where applicants can perhaps discuss, because I'm sure we all have the same sort of questions and queries ourselves. Are you planning to put together some sort of community group that we can all speak amongst ourselves? Is that an idea?
It's a great idea, Dominic. Thank you very much for raising this. We'll think about it. No, we'll actually make it happen. Okay,
we will make it happen. It's a great idea.
We'll create. I think the common place where we could do that is either a Telegram group or a LinkedIn group. We'll think about it, and after this event, please follow the Crypto Valley conference and the CVA LinkedIn pages, and we'll announce and post the link there for the building communities. And I'll definitely be in that group. I'm also super excited and help you along your applications if you have any further questions. So we'll make it happen. Thank you, Dominic, for the idea. A great one.
Thank you.
Any further questions? By the way, thanks for breaking the ice, Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions?
I guess overall, if you were, for instance, to think back to all the applications in previous years, what is the biggest faux pas, or what is the biggest advantage you can have if you apply?
Sorry, I didn't fully get the question. Could you please?
I think that's one for Bastian. Bastian, I think is theirs.
Okay.
I mean, sure. So it really depends on the stage. So, I mean, look, in the end, if you're early stage, obviously there's like different, I mean, VCs evaluate deals differently on the stage. And so for early stage, obviously like the idea and the team is very important. So there must be a solution to a problem that actually exists and a large enough market that it is a VC case. And obviously it's important that people understand your idea in the end. And so, but it's difficult to say, like, there's not like a single mistake. I mean, there's a couple of faux pas that could be in a potential pitch deck. I mean, you want to be precise. And as I said, like only focusing on features and not the benefits. And of course, there's also like some other assumptions that, you know, could go wrong. Or if you say there's no competition, we always want to make sure you actually understand the market and your own product and the business model that you have. So it's just important that we also see that you're actually the one driving the project and you know what you're doing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Bastian. And I think that we have Dominic first and then Mario.
Thank you, Sarah. Just another quick question. You mentioned, Bastian, that the successful startup applicants will pitch in front of a panel of judges. Now, is the actual pitch purely to that panel of judges, or is it to the wider audience at the whole event on stage? I wasn't sure which, is it across the whole event, or is it just to a smaller panel on a side stage or a side room, perhaps?
So I guess this is a question for Benedict.
Yeah. I think you're muted, Benedict.
Good point. Yeah. So good question. You'll be pitching in front of the great audience and including the judges. So meaning at the conference, we will have, I think, 3 large halls where actually all the events happen, and this will be one of the largest ones. And like very known people have already been pitching there, including large companies, unicorns, which are as of today unicorns. So getting on stage is some big thing. And also this ties into one of the awards, which will be or given away, which I'll come in a moment to, as the People's Choice. We'll have a People's Choice Award, and it's a pretty fat bundle of very nice service. So what we'll get there in a moment, but yes, to your answer, it will be presented in front of the whole audience interested. I would say hundreds of people, whoever fits in that hall. Last year, it was really, really, really stuffed.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much, Dominic. And, you know, I hope that doesn't frighten anyone, but, you know, it's always good to actually be on stage and be seen, because as I said before as well, I mean, yes, we have some soft commitment from the investors, but, you know, there will be other investors at the venue who may like your pitch and approach you directly afterwards. You know, so it could be very interesting for everyone. It's a great opportunity. And Mario, I mean, you're next.
Okay, thank you. From what I understand, this is a competition for early stage companies or early stage projects, because I see that there are some. I think that what I see from the participants is that some of them are already some companies that are running, are big companies. Would it be unfair to just someone who just has an already running project and company to compete against early stage companies or early stage projects? Is this an early stage competition only, or everyone can present themselves there? So I don't just get it, because you're talking in the presentation, you were talking around about early stage projects. Okay, we are an early stage project, and it's quite different from a running company. It will have much more opportunity, a much more clear market, well, everything. Thank you. It's the question clear? Okay.
Yes, Mario, it's clear. And Bastian, I think, you know, you were on before as well, because we said, of course, I mean, Mario, I guess that the confusion stems from, you know, the fact that we need at least, you know, as we said before, MVPs are welcome. And but yet then Bastian talked about Series C company as well, like, you know, later on down the line. So Bastian,
I was talking about like Series A and so on, but I mean, look, in the end, it really, for us, we also want to see the potential going forward. I mean, whether you're a VC investing in pre-seed or Series A, so you still want to see that the company has a potential to scale and further grow. And this is also what we're going to evaluate here in the pitch competition. And so it's going to be a fair process, whether you're a pre-seed company or a Series A company. So mainly, I mean, it's going to be early stage companies anyhow, but we want to see the potential of the company going forward. And so that's also like what we can obviously figure out when we evaluate the projects. And so that's going to be a fair competition for everyone.
Yeah, that's great, Mario. I hope that helped.
Yeah, not quite, but I understand. What I mean is that if you're an early stage project, you may have much less information that a well-established company which has already running on a market will have a much clearer understanding of the market. They have already a product running, so they have much more information, which makes the alternative for them, what they can produce, the pitch, etc. It has already been much more polished than an early stage company which is just starting with the pitch, with the market, with the product, with all that. So I don't think it's quite fair to compare one thing to another. So early stage companies or early stage projects will be at disadvantage because they have much less information to produce and at more or less polished and tested pitch than a well-established company. That's what I meant. Okay.
Yes,
So,
Mario, and I think it's
thank
all
you.
about, no, thank you for that. I think it's about balance, right? I mean, we are not expecting like, a lot of Series A companies to apply for this, because if they were, they're probably doing something not necessarily right? I mean, let's look at the, this is a great place to actually showcase what you're made of, but, the judge and the jury we will also take in consideration, a very good balance of companies, whether, the most important thing, as Bastian said, is try to explain in clear terms what you're trying to do so that they can assess the size of the market. I think that the potential is so important for early stage VCs. And also by taking a look at the VCs that are, or the investors that are on the landing page, you can also have a bit of an idea of the kind of stage of companies that will appear on, there on that day. There is definitely, it's more early stage rather than later stage. So I just wanted to say, but of course, I mean, there is a space for everyone. I think, that is the idea, is that if you're able to convey your project in a very simple way and, appeal to people like Bastian, because probably you have identified a market and you have a great team, I think that is already a big step, right? Bastian is more about the team than anything else in some cases.
Yeah, maybe just to add one more thing, and we can also close on this one. Like, Mario, I understand your concern, but trust the judges and trust the investors that there will be projects and investors and funding for everybody's taste. And apples will not be compared to pears, and professionals who can differentiate and will be able to differentiate between very early stage, idea stage, and maybe before Series A stage startups. Okay, and they will trust their competences, that if you submit and you have a good idea in a very early stage and you can pitch it very nicely, you'll make it to the top 10 and you'll get the recognition and you'll get the prize, whichever you are competing for. Okay, so I'm pretty 100% sure about this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe a last question which was there, and then I'll do the announcement, and then we just move on. Is Amin is asking from SwissDAO that where can we find the slides from the last competition? Let me also align just on that with the organizers from last year. What we had there, it wasn't in the same format. Okay, so let me do the following. We'll do this announcement. We'll set up the channel, which Dominic also suggested, and if we can make them available, then they will be made available via that specific channel. I hope that works with you, Amin. Okay, so last, and then I think we can close. Let me just share my screen for a very small moment, which is this one. Can you confirm seeing my screen? So the official announcement of the 2 awards, which will be curated and awarded along the competition and on top of the existing commitments. It's the first is the CVA Rising Star Award. The second is the CVC or CVA, we can call it as we like, People's Choice Award. And for the former, this will be awarded for the team who has demonstrated the most impressive growth in the shortest period of time. Okay, I'll not detail that more. We'll have the maybe in the announcements and later in the channel detail this further out. This is the first award, the CVA Rising Star 2023, and the second is the CVA People's Choice Award. For this, you will be in the hands of the audience, and we will have a real-time voting while after all the 10 pitches happen, and the public will choose their favorite team and the favorite project, and they will be awarded with this award. The Crypto Valley Startup Working Group who Sarah and myself are representing in this call, we did our best to really gear up with all our partners and connections and network. And this way, we actually came up with a pretty decent bundle of prices in the worth of $40K US dollars for now. These include professional services, legal advisory from Web3 legal advisors, mentorship, coaching, Web3 marketing agencies giving consulting hours. And it's not just a marketing Calendly 15-minute event. All the winners, they will have the chance to spend 6, 5, 3, 4, but more than a small slot with those advisors to help their project grow even further. This number, the 40K, is conservative. We still have 20 days and it's growing. So we already had also today some new commitments, which we highly welcome. And so this was the announcement on this these 2 new awards, and more to come. And I think at this stage we can close this AMA. If you happen to have any further questions, we'll be setting up the channels, and also I'll be adding my email address now into the chat. Please stick around and save that, and I can be, or Sarah, or can be contacted directly as well with your questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you as well. Thank Bastian as well for being here today. Thank you so much, Bastian, for lending a hand here and helping us to decode these questions. Hopefully everybody found it helpful, right? And if you have any questions, reach out to us.
Thank you very, very much, and good luck with all your applications, and fingers crossed to you. Thanks very much for the participation. Thanks, Bastian. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedict. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.